That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time you are listening to this, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the bad boys of podcasting. The reason why mom made you take the long way home from school, Central Divided. My name is Zack McCann, and with me, as always, is the effervescent, the positively glowing, the beautiful,
Mason Masters.
there he is. He knows how to take a lead in. Mason, my man, what's up?
Oh, not much, man. Just trying not to fall prey to one of the 87,000 things that could spell doom for me this year. But other than that, I'm rosy.
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? So,
Exactly. How are
well,
you, my friend? How are you? It's been a while since we've gotten together.
I know. We're like Avatar sequels. You never know when they're gonna pop up, but you keep hearing it's gonna happen. So, it's nice.
Absolutely. I'm actually not real. I'm completely CGI.
Just yeah, and looking fabulous
Yeah,
doing it.
just the lag time between you and New Zealand right now is
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah, incredible. Dude, I'm good. I've watched hockey for like the past 3 days, and it's like all I've done is work and watch hockey, and life kind of feels normal, and I love that.
Yeah, I know. It's been like weird at first for me because I was like, oh, it's the end of July. It's nearly August. Why
Mhm.
why am I watching? Is this the preseason? And then I went, no, I have no idea what month it is anyway. My circadian rhythm and my body clock it might as well be, April. So we're gonna say it's April. It's
Yeah.
April playoff time. Let's roll, man.
Yeah, I mean, as we record this, it's, about 6 o'clock Central Time on the Thursday that the NHL has returned to play. So we've seen a few days of exhibition games. And Mason, I gotta say, and maybe it's just the lack of hockey, and it's the if you throw a starving man a cracker, he's gonna think it's a Ritz type situation. But this has been some pretty darn competitive hockey we've seen so far.
Yeah, and I think that not only has it been competitive, but it's been engaging, and it seems like the players have not lost a step in the break. The
Mm.
quality of the play has not been lower than I would have otherwise predicted, which is a really good sign leading into this weekend when honest to God games are going to start and things of importance will actually be on the line.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've blocked off on my calendar from like 11 a.m. till 5 p.m. every day next week, and I'm just declaring myself unfit to work. So,
Yeah, I think Patrick Kane put it as this is going to be similar to watching March Madness, and
mm,
100% it is, including the fact that I will be doing zero work, although I will appear to be doing a lot of work.
yeah,
Lots of emails are going to get responded to, and nothing's actually going to move forward next week.
Zach's employers don't watch this. Zach's listeners, hello. Yeah, I mean, like it's weird to say, and I know this is especially bitter for you to admit, but the NHL is kind of crushing it right now.
Yeah, Zach. Is it a bad sign when Gary Bettman's the best commissioner in pro sports right now?
I think if anything else, it's just par for the course in this year that the unexpected is happening. Dogs and cats are living together, and the NHL is the best run
Yeah.
professional league right now.
And this is hard for me to actually utter, but I've been impressed with how well this league has done everything
Mhm.
from making sure teams were contained, outbreaks while they were in their home cities were contained. Everybody was clear to go to the two hub cities. The hub cities are well organized. The hotels are well organized. The venues look amazing, Zach. You and I were talking about that during these first few games this week. Like, it looks cool the way that they have set up these two hub cities. And I've watched maybe 6 or 7 baseball games since that came
Mhm.
back, and it's fun, but there's nobody in the stands. The cardboard cutouts look weird. Watching the NHL games, I did not even think about the fans for a second. Did not even pop into my mind, and I think that is probably the best case scenario in terms of a tournament like this. I've been really impressed. We'll see how well the actual hockey playing goes, but in terms of organization, the league's done great.
They accidentally fell into something that really works for them, in that the presentation of these games is the same as you would see as an outdoor game. And
Yes.
that's what has been a stroke of genius by the game presentation crew at NBC Sports and the NHL and everyone, because it just looks like a Winter Classic game or something like that, only the weird Thunderdome version, which I'm super into.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm just waiting for Tina Turner to come out
Ooh,
an
now we're
intermission
excited.
with the white hair.
Well, not only that, I think what's really a stroke of genius is the way that they have scheduled these exhibition games. By
I
giving
agree.
each team their perceived best rival that's in the tournament, it really has ratcheted up the intensity of these games.
Yeah, I agree, Zach. Between, for example, the Hawks play the Blues.
Mhm.
Even the games that don't make so much sense. For example, last night watching the Jets and the Canucks go at it.
Yeah.
That was a well played game. There was intensity. There was some real vile between those two teams, which is not a thing I immediately think of when I think of a game between those two. But they've done a really good job of either pairing regional teams or straight out rivals just to get a little more juice flowing, just to prod them a little more into this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So far in the games I've watched, none of them have really been snooze fests. I mean, the only one I started off watching, of course, the Penguins and the Flyers, and was scratching myself like an addict as soon as the game came on. And that was just excellent from top to bottom. Obviously, I just watched the Predators just wax the Stars, which was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I mean, like even watching the Hawks and the Blues, the score didn't indicate just how competitive that game was.
Yeah,
So,
same. And even with the Canucks game that I mentioned earlier, I think it was
mhm,
4-0 by the end of it with Winnipeg. But those teams where it was an open game back and forth.
mhm.
The only real snooze fest I can think of was the Tampa Bay Florida game
That was not a good game.
it's Florida. Like
Yeah.
in the back of my mind, Zach, I've been thinking for every single one of these games I've watched, like, don't get too excited, don't get too down on a team. It's
Yep.
just a game, except for the Florida game where it's like, yeah, yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. There are a few teams who I think just kind of have that just happy to be here vibe, you know?
Yep, I would agree.
hmm So, Mason, I know obviously last time we talked, the hub cities hadn't even been announced yet. And I really want to give the NHL a pat on the back for doing the right thing and picking two cities in Canada. We said it, and I'm glad they listened to the show. They listened to us and did the right thing, I think.
I think so too. It would be better if we got a consulting fee for it. That yes, but I'll take what we can get in terms of that. I mean, it's safer. Canada's done a much better job curbing this pandemic. B, there's something to be said about going back to the roots of the game. Hockey's, that's the culture still. Is everything has to be old time and we draw on our roots and our traditions. But in this case, I think that's actually a really good thing to do. In something that is so weird as this 2014 tournament, to kind of like center it and give it some gravity by putting it back in Canada, where, to be honest, it's going to get the most eyes, where there's going to be the most excitement over it. I think that was a really savvy move by the NHL.
Absolutely. I just thought, obviously, you have the two cities, the little touches that each teams are taking for all of their players. For instance, the Predators, their staff went and got pictures of each of the
Yeah.
players' family and made sure they had them on the tables when they got to their hotel rooms, having team branding all over each of their hotels, kind of trying to make it as a weird situation as homey as possible for each one.
Yeah. And at the same time, kind of embracing the weird situation
Yeah.
too. You know what I mean? Like we all know that this is not normal, so let's have
Yeah.
some fun with it.
hmm
Again, a word I don't normally associate with this league, fun, but it seems like they're making actual attempts at making the game enjoyable, which is good. I'll
Yeah, I
take
mean
that.
it's cool the fact that every team has sent in a portion of their game operations. I
Yeah.
know, for the Predators, we had the PA announcer record all of his calls. I know every team has done that. We've got fans sending in videos of cheers. We've got some booing from the Boston fans apparently, which I think is great. Not only that, I just thought that I'm excited to see what they're going to come up with to spice up the broadcast, because apparently we have not even seen the tip of the iceberg for the plans that they have. So I'm a little nervous to hear that in one area, because I'm like, don't mess with it too much. Like
Yeah.
we got a good thing going here. And B, I'm just excited to see what they come up with, because right now they're kind of on a hot streak.
Yeah, and I mean, right now it's working pretty well. The Blackhawks game against the Blues last night, Eddie Olczyk was in Stamford, Connecticut, because he's going to be there basically until the end of this, working for NBC Sports.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Pat Foley was in a truck outside of the United Center. He wasn't even in the building, and they're calling the game together. And it was very hard to notice any indiscrepancies between the two of them being able to communicate, although they're not side by side, and also for how they were able to monitor gameplay action. Because anybody who's been to a hockey game knows that it's very different to be able to see what's happening throughout the entire ice as to what the TV camera shows you. So I think, from what we've been able to see early, they've done a really good job of making sure that those people in the booths get what they need to call the game well. And I'm with you. I'm excited to see what other augmentation they can come up with to enhance this for us.
All right, Mace. So, meaningful hockey starts in a scant 40 hours.
Yes.
I'm doing the math a little probably messed up there, but we're close enough.
Okay.
So at this rate, I think maybe we kind of walk through each of these play-in series, talk about offense, defense, goaltending, and then X factors. And let's try and break down each of these series and see who has the edge from kind of those perspectives. Sound like a plan?
That sounds like a plan. But first, Zach, you
Oh,
forgot something very important that
I
happened in the
did.
NHL. You
What did
did.
I forget?
You forgot.
Oh my, how could we forget? I mean, not only that, we're about to get a new little brother.
Oh, yeah.
The Arizona Coyotes are coming to the Central Division, so
I
we're gonna have
can't
to
wait
bone
for
up
the
on them.
Coyotes to move to Houston and really become a rival, and it's going to be great.
Boy, yeah, that's another situation. John Chayka, how about that?
I was really surprised by that.
Yeah,
But
just
yeah, man, 32 teams now.
the
Again,
Seattle
they went
Kraken.
with the fun name. They have a
What?
really cool logo and look. Like, I was ready to run through a wall with that video that they released before they even announced everything. I was like, okay,
Mhm.
I guess I'm a Kraken fan now. That's cool.
The Space Needle on top of the anchor.
Oh,
It's
it's so
such a cool
cool.
touch. Such a
Yeah,
good touch.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They nailed it, and I'm really excited to see what they can do on the ice, and also to see just how mad they make everybody else, much like the Vegas Golden Knights did during the entry draft.
Yeah, I'm already dreading who we're gonna lose because everyone's losing a good player. So
That's really the state of our two teams. We'll get into it, I'm sure, a little later. But
mhm.
you're dreading this draft. I'm like, Brent Seabrook. Brent Seabrook is
Yeah, it's not
open.
gonna
He's
happen.
available. Just take. You need that. You need that veteran presence, guys. Let me
It's not
tell
gonna
you.
happen. It's just not. They're gonna take someone
Please take my
good.
players.
Now they're
Take
gonna
them.
be
Take
like,
as
we're
many as
taking
you want.
Dominic Kubalik, and
Yeah, that's exactly how it's going to work.
Mm,
But yeah,
yeah.
man, let's. There's enough about how the NHL is actually doing a good job at running a hockey league. How about we get
Hmm.
into the players now and see where they're going to take us on this weird journey through the 2014 playoff?
All right, Eastern Conference. Let's start out there where those heathens live. Pittsburgh Penguins, Montreal Canadiens.
Man,
Offense.
offensively, I mean, you got to look at Pittsburgh here. Be just
Yep.
the way you have for the past decade, with Crosby and Malkin, Gunsel's gotten it back together. I mean, this team should score 4 or 5 goals a game. Montreal, uh, maybe they can get lucky. Maybe they
They
can
got
catch.
Kovalchuk, right?
No, he's with Washington now.
Oh, he is with
Yeah,
Washington
he's with the
now. Geez.
Capitals. I was going to
Yeah.
mention him too, and I was like, no, they don't even have him, so
Yeah,
they
no, they
can't
don't.
even rely for like a good week of like vintage Kovalchuk anymore.
I
I
mean,
I
they got
don't see
Jonathan
how they're going to do it.
Drouin and
Yeah.
Thomas Tatar. Those are two
Yay.
players who play hockey. Um, yeah,
So
yeah,
all
they're
right,
really great.
that's pretty one-sided for me, Zach.
Yeah,
Do you
obvious
see
edge to
any?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Do you see anything closer in terms of balance when we look at the defensive aspects of these two teams?
A little bit, but I mean that's only because I think Montreal has the best defenseman in the series in Shea Weber,
Yeah.
and it's hard to say that. Yes, Chris Letang is excellent; he's fantastic, but when you got a guy like Shea Weber, I think that might tilt it a little bit, and that's just me being generous, trying to give something to the Canadians in this series. I think Victor Mete, I can't remember that's how you say his name. If he's back, that will be excellent as well. But looking at it, it's close. I think that's maybe a wash between the two.
Yeah, I would
So,
agree. It's not going to be a game breaker for either
no.
side, which I think would then trend to be a good thing for Montreal in that case.
Mhm.
Um,
Goaltending.
Goaltending, yeah, this is where the series gets fun. You look at the two netminders, and especially you look up to Montreal and you go, Carey Price, he's not what he used to be, and yet he's
Murray.
not been in this position for a real long time. He doesn't
Yeah.
have to be great for very long. He just has to be very good for long enough.
Hmm.
And you look over at the other end here with Murray, and historically, he's kind of a weak playoff goaltender. Um, I would say I would, and I'll give him. Let me back up, Zach.
Yeah. Let's walk that one
Is
back
he
a little bit.
notoriously bad? No. Is he a guy though that will prolong a series when it doesn't need to be prolonged by having a weak night? Yes. Is he a guy that will let in a gaff goal every now and then in the playoffs? Yes. And in this type of shortened to 5 game season or 5 game series rather, if he does that one night and gives Montreal another night, it's a completely different series. So I honestly I go with Carey Price on this one, and I think the one fact that Pittsburgh was so afraid of him that they voted against the playoff format. That's the first thing. He's living rent free in their heads for no
Yeah.
good reason. And then also, I think there's something to be said about he's not a guy that usually makes a big mistake. And I've seen Murray do it, although he doesn't do it often. He's done it enough that it's stuck in my mind that if I had to pick one in 5 games, I think I'd still go with Carey Price.
Here's the problem, my friend. You are operating under the assumption that Matt Murray is the starting goaltender.
Is he not?
Tristan Jarry is most likely going to start this series.
Oh,
He
then I
was,
still stand by what I just said. If I don't know who that person is, I think I feel okay in my
and
analysis.
here's the thing, my friend. You haven't watched a lot of Penguins games this year
I try not to. I
because,
boil over with rage whenever
yeah,
they're
it's
on.
easy to do. Tristan Jarry has looked excellent in net. 921 save percentage, 20, 12, and 1 with a 2.43 goals against average.
Okay.
Has been great for the Penguins. Better numbers than Carey Price.
Yeah, that's true.
Now he plays on a better team, but he also plays on a more injured team. I mean, the job that Mike Sullivan did this year with the Pittsburgh Penguins is you can't say enough good things about it. Any other year, he should be a Jack Adams finalist.
I mean,
But
I see where you're going with that, Zach. But
mm,
what isn't just playing for Montreal injury enough?
yeah, that's fair. So I think this is a little closer than you think when it comes to goaltending. But obviously, when you have someone who is of the mythic status that is Carey Price, can he be like the Undertaker and rise up for his one last match against Dean Ambrose or whoever the heck it was in this past one?
I don't know which
It's
one.
good. Yeah,
Which
I don't
last
know. Pick
match do you
one.
want to?
Yeah, either one. But yeah, is he willing to go Undertaker and just right back up? I don't know. We'll see. So X factors, I think we've just talked about them. Really,
Yeah.
is Carey Price going to be Carey Price? So
Yep.
Mace, what do you think? Do the Canadians have any shot?
I mean, realistically, probably not. Did I
Huh.
pick them though? 100%.
All right, I
Montreal
respect it.
Canadiens move on.
In how many
And
games?
5.
In 5 games. All
Distance.
right, Montreal in 5. Man, Pittsburgh in 3. I'm calling the sweep.
Ooh. All
All
right.
right, we'll see how it goes. Maybe Price steals 1, and we get Pittsburgh in 4. But that's best case scenario for them in my eyes.
All right. I mean, that in all likelihood is what's going to happen. I just love the narrative of Carey Price, A, redeeming the team, and B, Pittsburgh being so afraid of him that they end up losing to him.
Hey, I still love Shea Weber, so I'm totally okay with it. But, so Carolina versus the New York Rangers. This one is interesting.
It is, Zach. You've got one team coming off of a Western Conference final appearance last year. The other team was supposed to be in rebuilding mode. And given the, timey-wimey, wimbly-wobbly that has been 2020, they suddenly find themselves with a chance to compete for the Stanley Cup. Are these two teams really as even as people make them out to be, Zach? Do you think this is going to be as even of a matchup as people seem to think it will be?
2 points separate these teams in the standings. And since 2011, the Rangers are 31-6 against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Rangers have historically owned Carolina. Like you look, you don't see Tom Dundon's name. You see just a branding of the Statue of Liberty right on the back of the Carolina Hurricanes at that rate, because that's how much they have owned them. However, Carolina is almost completely healthy, with one big exception. We're not sure about the status of Dougie Hamilton.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to skip ahead and say the X factor here is Dougie Hamilton.
I would agree.
If he is willing to play, if he's able to play, I'm taking the Hurricanes. If he's not, I'm taking the Rangers.
Yeah, I would agree, Zach. And even if he is, I don't think you're going to get a Willis Reed game out of him where he's ineffective, but it's enough to cross the line. If he's not well enough to break game situations open, then I agree. I think the Rangers, this is their series to take, and even if they don't end up going that far, I think this is their explanation point to what they've been doing, their identity, all of those things, and I think they're going to be the ones that come out with more at stake in a positive way. Carolina has a lot to lose here, and New York really doesn't, and they understand that, but they're very excited to prove how good they actually are.
I think what's interesting about this, at least from an offensive perspective, is I think you got to lean towards the Rangers when it comes to the offense, just because, and this is kind of what I usually operate on, who has the best player? And that's the Rangers. Yeah, Artemi Panarin. And not only that, getting Chris Kreider back is absolutely huge for the Rangers. And I love me some Sebastian Aho. I think he's fantastic. But good. I think the better group is the Rangers in this case.
I would agree. Absolutely, Zach. So I think, are we both picking New York for this series?
I don't know. I mean, defensively, you got to go for Carolina. Obviously, they have the better defensive core. Goaltending is another place where it's interesting because both of them, I don't know who's going to start.
Yeah, it's a wash to me almost. I don't know what to expect from either of the two starters in Carolina or the possible three starters you have in New York.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
I have no idea what to expect there. That's a huge wild card for both teams.
It's funny. I picked Carolina on Slapshot Radio back on Monday, and I'm kind of wavering on that. I am wondering if the Rangers, I think it's happening in 5 regardless.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? No, I don't think it's happening in 5. I think if it goes longer than 3, the Hurricanes are winning. Otherwise, if the Rangers are in their head, then it's a sweep.
You think it's just a blitzkrieg by New York, and that's
they went 4-0 against them this year.
Yeah. I think that the New York Rangers win. I'm not so sold on it being a 5-game series and Carolina having a clear advantage there. But I think it's going to be a 4-game series.
Okay.
I think Carolina gets 1 win, probably the second game, and then that's it for their season.
Interesting. All right. Wow. Okay. Moving on to the Islanders versus the Panthers. I think we all know where this is going.
Yeah. So I would just
Is there an area where the Panthers can compete?
Yeah, offensively, they should be. I mean, when you look on paper, as we have said many times on Central Divided when it comes to the Florida Panthers, this is a very good team. Offensively, they should be a dynamo. Defensively, they're actually pretty strong. And now you've got Bobrovsky down there. I mean, this should be a team that is a threat to contend. And they're just not. And I don't know if that's, lack of team cohesion. I don't know if Joel Quenneville's game plans are working with the roster that he has. I don't know what that X factor that they're lacking is, but it's gone. It is out in the middle of the Atlantic as far as they're concerned. So you look on paper and you go, well, Florida has a better offense than New York. New York's a very good defensive team. They probably don't have as strong a netminder as Florida does, but in real life, that's a toss-up.
I mean, when you have Mitch Korn as your goaltending coach and a Barry Trotz-led team, I mean, it's hard to ever bet against them in goaltending.
Yeah, I think for me personally, Zach, out of the East, I think if there's a game or a series that's going to go 3 games, I think it's this one. I think the Islanders win it in 3.
Well, Islanders went 3-0 against them this year. If there's one matchup in this series that I can't wait to see, it's Matt Barzal versus Alexander Barkov. I think that has the potential to be some high explosive hockey.
Yeah, I think it's going to be which one's the real deal between the
Yeah.
two of them. Those are two guys with very high ceilings, and they really haven't, after starting off very hot in their careers,
Hmm.
they've cooled down significantly. And I think this is the kind of the battle of who's going to be the has been and who's the have not.
Certainly interesting. So, I mean, you're going Islanders in three.
Islanders in
Ah,
three.
yeah, I think for me, Islanders in four. I think Florida takes one.
Okay. Well,
All
they thank
right.
you for that.
I got you. I got you. All right. Toronto versus Columbus, our final matchup in the Eastern Conference. What do we make of this?
Zach, I have no idea. I have no idea what to make of this. It's the only one that doesn't have a winner circled on my little card that I've drawn up here because I'm just gonna wing it. Again, this is kind of similar to the Islanders Panthers dilemma, where one team looks like they're a whole lot better than the other one, but there's just those intangibles that you look at and you go, well, I don't know. So what are your thoughts? I mean, offensively, obviously,
Toronto
Toronto
by a lot.
should have a clear advantage. Defensively, that's
Columbus
trickier.
by a lot.
Yeah, because it's Columbus. The only thing that Toronto has any advantage really defensively is that they get Jake Muzzin back. Is that going to be a game breaker for them? Probably not, but it does shore up their defense a
You know
little
who
bit.
is two game breakers they're getting back for Columbus? Zach Werenski and Seth Jones.
Seth Jones coming back is huge.
I mean, and
Um,
Zach Werenski too. For my money, Werenski and Jones are the best pair in the league, not named Roman Yossi and Ryan Ellis.
they're very good, and
Mhm.
having them both back healthy and ready to go, and you have that experience in their back pocket of last year when they pulled off that wonderful upset of the Lightning.
Mhm.
So this is a team that's not going to come in without confidence, especially against a team that should overpower them. They've been in this scenario a year ago.
Mhm.
Okay, well, we swept that team, so what do you got, Toronto? You can't make it out of the first round every year.
I mean, they were tied in points at the pause. So you look at this; these are two teams who are fairly similar. Um, and as far as goaltending goes, that's another question. Where do you go? Is it Jonas Carpasalo? Is it Elvis Merzlikins?
Yeah,
I mean, it's going to be Freddie Anderson on the other side, and I do trust Anderson to steal you a series.
but why? When has he done it? But when has he done it, Zach? That's the thing.
He's looked like a different goaltender over the past 2 years. I
That's
do think.
he's looked different this year to me.
Mhm.
I will give you that. But I mean, I'm just sorry, any Leafs fans listening to this. I'm just thinking back to Boston after Boston series and like
But that's the thing; they're
that's
not playing Boston this time.
that's true. That's the
Yet,
thing that's the only reason I haven't circled Columbus on my card is because it doesn't say Boston.
death, taxes, and Toronto playing the Bruins, which is why I am picking Toronto to advance, and then they're going to play Boston in the first official round.
Okay, all right. See,
So round zero, they're going to win, but
I
they're still going to get to the first round of the playoffs.
that's an interesting loophole because the way I see it is this is still the first round. I don't care what the NHL says. And I don't think it's Boston. I think it's first round. I mean, Boston usually is the one that does it for them, but I think it's just Toronto first round.
Okay,
So
so
you have talked me into circling the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I love it. I love it. There we
Five
go.
games naturally. It's got
Oh,
to go in
five
the
games for
distance.
sure. It's going
Yeah,
five. Yeah.
and they're gonna pull it out in front of an empty crowd in Toronto.
In home ice advantage, does that do anything for Toronto? They know the
No.
boards, right? I mean, that's what I keep hearing is that they have an unfair advantage because they know the rink or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, let's see if Edmonton puts up like 8 goals the first game against Chicago. Maybe they have a case.
So that's the Eastern Conference. And now let's move to the conference that matters, the warm, snuggly blanket of pain that is the Western Conference. And our first matchup are the fifth seeded Edmonton Oilers versus the 12th seeded Chicago Blackhawks.
The Chicago
How are you
Blackhawks.
feeling about this, Mason?
Man, I like. Have you seen the movie Melancholia?
No.
No, it's a Lars von Trier film.
Oh, God.
If that gives you direction,
It
yeah.
does.
And Kristen Dunst just watches the world end throughout the course of the thing, and this is her general reaction to it.
Mhm. And that's just where you're at.
That's exactly where I am. I'm just like, this is going to be awful, and frankly, I hope it's awful so that we don't, prolong the suffering any longer. That being said, though, I think it'll be a fun series.
If you talked to me before that exhibition game against the Blues, I'd have been saying Edmonton's just gonna wax the Hawks. They're done. They've got nothing. But the Blackhawks were playing some inspired hockey. And
I'll narrow that down for you, though, Zach. The first line was playing some inspired hockey.
One other player, Corey Crawford, was
Crawford looked good.
back.
Yeah, he looked good, fresh off of his COVID-19 recovery. So that's really good to see.
Mm-hmm. So let's break it down.
Yeah.
Offense.
Oh, come on, man. Don't make me really.
I'll make you say it. Yeah.
The two best players in the world are on the same line for Edmonton.
It's not fair. It's just not fair.
It's not fair.
Nope.
They should outscore the Blackhawks, even if the Blackhawks had a pro-worthy defense core. They should still put up 4 or 5 a night against this team. Yeah. So unless something goes wildly wrong for Edmonton, I don't see offense being an issue with them. Defensively, both teams aren't the strongest, but Edmonton seems to at least have a game plan on how to defend. And if I remember right, I believe their penalty kill unit is a much tighter unit than Chicago. I might be wrong on that.
Is Mike Green playing for the Oilers? I can't remember.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't think so.
I remember reading something about him possibly opting out.
I thought he opted out because of his neck.
He did opt out of the playoffs.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So he's not on the roster anymore.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if he is not on the roster, then I mean, it's a wash in my eyes defensively.
I think it's a wash for fans of the teams. I think for just people that are watching, it is a win because
it's going to be some offensive hockey.
Neither one of these defenses are going to do much, and both of these teams are going to be playing a very open game and counterattacking.
Now, goaltending, I got to give the edge to the Blackhawks here. And it's hard not to. I mean, like, the Oilers, they're fine in net, I guess.
Yeah.
But the Blackhawks, you've got a goaltender like Corey Crawford. If he's back and ready to go, then look out.
If only we had Robin Lehner. But even that being said, Corey Crawford's been solid this year. I think it was because he got to share so much time with Lehner.
Yeah.
But he's fresh. He looks good. He looks, one of the things then you hear a lot of analysts talk about it. And so I'm sorry that I'm falling into that cliche. But when a goalie comes back from injury or illness, the first couple games, a lot of times you can see them overreact to play in front of them. Not even necessarily shots, but just movement, passes, that kind of thing, where they just kind of work themselves out of position. Crawford in that Blues game was steady. He was exactly where he needed to be when the puck was, in a threatening position, or even if it was just being cycled around. And that's good news for the Blackhawks that he doesn't look like he's missed a step. He made some good saves. He got brushed a lot by the Bruins. They were very physical in the crease and didn't seem to affect him. So.
Yeah, he was playing within himself, which is a phrase you often hear about goalies, is that they're steady, they're not overplaying the puck, their movement is economical.
Exactly.
And that's what you saw out of Corey Crawford, which I thought was a great sign if you're a Blackhawks fan.
Yes.
So once you're done eating your dinner of garbage from the trash can, you can get really excited about that if you're a Blackhawks fan.
Our pizza is delicious even if it comes from a trash can, okay?
Oh, no, I have no qualm with Chicago pizza. I mean, it depends. You got to go to, like, Art of Pizza at Belmont and Ashland, though. You can't go to, like, Giordano's or any of, like, the big places. You got to go hole in the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Pequods. If any of you come up there, Pequods is
I miss that Pequods lunch special so much. Best deal in anywhere. I mean, it's $5 for like a pizza and a beer. It's ridiculous.
I know it's just the best. It's going to be way better than what the Blackhawks actually put on the ice during this series.
So, what do you think, Mace? What's your prediction on this one?
I mean, I would love to be a homer. I really would.
Yeah.
But I'd also like the number 1 pick in the draft, which would be really cool, and that would also equally upset fans that aren't, especially in Nashville, if we bounced and then immediately got the best player in the last 5 years. So I'm going to go with the Oilers. I think the Oilers win this. I think they win it in 4. I wouldn't be surprised if the Blackhawks win the first game of the series, to be honest with you, and then get swept after that. I think, though, every game is going to be entertaining. I think every game, I'm jinxing it, but I think every game is going to be like combined 6 or 7 goals a game. It's going to be wild. You're going to see Connor McDavid do some really amazing things. I think you're going to see guys
faster. It's terrifying.
and I think on the Hawks end, you're going to see guys like Kubalik do really cool things too. I think Jonathan Toews looks ready to actually perform and make a difference. Patrick Kane will probably have at least one really cool Spinorama in him. I think this is a really fun series for casual fans to get a look at. So I think everybody wins here, but when the winning comes to the two teams, I think it's going to be Edmonton.
So here's the thing, my friend.
No way. Come on, man.
My X factor for this series is experience. And the Hawks have a lot of it.
No.
The Oilers have two of the best players in the world, and I think they're going to be good, and I think the Hawks are going to do just enough to stop them in 5. I have a weird feeling the Blackhawks are winning in 5. I don't know why. I can't justify it. There's no logic behind it, but I just have a weird feeling that the Hawks are going to win this series, and I don't know why. This is
your Montreal series. I picked mine in the East, and you picked yours in the West. Okay.
Yep, there it is, right there. And I did it for you. I mean, I think you'd be happy.
I would. Honestly, I would. As a fan, I would be thrilled if they won this. I would also be like, oh, well, now the rebuild's going to take 2 extra years. That's fine, though.
Oh, but yeah. Fair.
I would love to see that, Zach. Honestly, I just don't.
It's hard, yeah.
Yeah, but thank you for believing in us.
I got you. All
right.
Makes
you feel good.
Next series, and I'm not just saying this because this is the next series, but the Nashville Predators in the 6th seed versus the Arizona Coyotes in the 11 hole. What do we make of this series?
You're going to have much more eloquence when it comes to this series, Zach, because I don't know exactly what Nashville brings to the table in terms of their dynamic with Arizona. Mm-hmm. But having watched Nashville, especially in that opening round game, you guys looked very, very confident, and you looked like you had a game plan. And that's something that off and on this season, there's been some struggle with. So the fact that everybody looks like they're on the same page and the engines have been well-oiled is a really good sign. Also, what helps is that you're playing the Arizona Coyotes. I don't know anything about what the season standings have said. Now that I said it, it's probably Arizona swept you guys, but
1-0-1. Right.
If we're talking about like just feelings and experience, Arizona, you guys a large portion of your team went to the Stanley Cup final and has competed in the playoffs every year since. And Arizona, is Marian Hossa still on the roster?
I think Pavel Datsyuk is still getting paid.
Yeah, right. So, in that respect, I don't really see this being much of a series, which I guess would make it a trap series. Do you know what I mean?
Here's the thing. Arizona always gives the Predators fits.
Okay.
It's a weird team that is just always. They're frustrating. They're young. They're speedy. They're usually game type to hurt the Predators. But the way that Nashville has been playing since John Hines took over, the focus on net front clearance, the focus on puck possession and scoring off the rush and just kind of beating down other teams really plays against the Arizona Coyotes mindset. Arizona is a team who doesn't give up a lot, and they also don't get a lot. They score almost exclusively off the rush, which is going to happen when your leading forwards are people like Clayton Keller, Taylor Hall, and Phil Kessel. Mm-hmm. Now you look at players like that and you think, oh, that's pretty good. Does Arizona have the offensive advantage? God, no.
No.
The Predators.
It's not even close.
The Predators, while they don't have any one player who's going to be here's your 50-goal scorer, they're hoping Philip Forsberg turns into that one day. I personally think he can, but, we're a few years in now. We ain't seen it yet. The Predators are a death by 1,000 cuts team. They have 4 lines that can score against you. And with the reuniting of the Johansson, Forsberg, Arvidsson, belovedly known as the Jofa line. That line was the best line in the playoffs in 2017. Mm-hmm. And it's been fun kind of rewatching because they've been playing all the 2017 run here in Nashville throughout, our lovely COVID phase, and watching that line wreak havoc against other teams. I mean, you saw it as it happened with the Blackhawks. We were watching that series together in person, much to your chagrin. And, you look at everything that line was able to do. If they were able to recapture an ounce of what they were able to do, then they're going to give the Arizona Coyotes a ton of problems. In their exhibition game against Dallas today, that line looked like the 2017 version.
They did.
There was creative passes. The pass from Philip Forsberg to Victor Arvidsson for his second goal of the game, you're already seeing it on highlights all over Twitter because it was, as he's known for, completely filthy. And just the way that Ryan Johansson was hard on the puck, fast skating. You look at that, and then you open up room for the second line of Matt Duchene, Mikhail Granlund, and Kyle Turris to make some noise. And they look strong too. And if they don't hurt you, oh, okay. Then you've got one of their leading scorers, Nick Bonino and Rocco Grimaldi, and Craig Smith on the third line, who are going to burn you with speed as well. And then you got the fourth line of some amalgamation of Colin Blackwell, Austin Watson, Colton Zizens, and Calle Yarncroke, who is known for playoff heroics. So you look at that, and it's hard not to feel good just about the pure depth of this lineup versus the Coyotes.
I think that's something that doesn't get talked about often enough with Nashville is the deceptive speed that multiple lines have. The Jofa line, obviously, I mean, we've seen Arvidsson and Forsberg turn people into highlight reels because they're just faster and they're more dynamic on their skates. But it is three lines that can compete with your top pair defensemen in terms of speed, especially on a rush. I think that's going to be huge against a team like Arizona.
Now, we've been talking about the series for a little bit now, and we haven't mentioned, in my mind, the Norris Trophy favorite of Roman Josi yet. So defensively, you look at both these teams, and as I said earlier, I think you've got one of the best pairings in the game, and Josi and Ellis right now. And that's to say nothing about the Coyotes captain, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who is a phenomenal player. He's excellent. Yep. I think Jacob Chychrun is going to turn into something really good for that team as well. I just don't think they're there yet. They're there yet.
Yeah. As soon as you mentioned Chychrun, that's my thought exactly. There are guys that are just not there yet. This will be good experience, especially if they can take this 4 or 5 games. But defensively, it's your game. Offensively, it's Nationals' game. And
goaltending's a question mark.
Well, I assume, and I might get in trouble for assuming here, UC Saros is gonna start.
We actually do not know yet.
It's not known. Okay.
It's not confirmed. Hines even said just after this game, you'll know on Sunday.
Great. Does that fill you with like excitement or with dread?
If either of the goalies was looking particularly bad, I'd be more worried. But
they look pretty solid.
They both just shut out the Stars. I mean, sure, the Stars don't score a lot, but both of them had some highlight reel saves throughout. I thought Saros looked stronger during training camp, but Pecorine has 87 career playoff starts.
Yeah,
Saros
if you're looking
0.
for experience, he's the guy. Who would you roll with if you were behind the bench?
I would start with Pecorine, and here's the reason why. If you're
He's
thinking
7
of
feet tall.
Well, there's that.
Okay.
If you think of the future of this franchise, if you consider UC Saros your future number 1 goalie, to start him in the playoffs and then yank him in favor of Pecorine is going to do damage to that kid's psyche.
True.
I think it's way easier to pull Pecorine and go to UC Saros for the long-term health of the franchise. Are you trying to win one series or are you trying to win them all?
That's true.
That's the real question. So that's why I would go with Pecorine.
Okay. I would, for me, it's close. I really don't know who I'd go with.
Now, honestly, I think the Coyotes have the better goaltending tandem. I think Darcy Kemper was amazing this series, and Antti Ranta was not bad at all either. So I think if there's an area where the Coyotes might have the edge, it's got to be goaltending.
Yep, but I mean, it's just going to be goaltending can win you a series, and it often does when you get like Jordan Bennington level. Yep. Netminding. Against a team like Nashville, though, that gets taken out of the equation a bit because of the different ways they can punish you. Yes. If you're just repelling one style of play, if it's possession play and you're going to get a lot of shots through from the from the point and lots of cross-ice passes and what to expect, that's one thing. Nashville can do that. They excel at that. They also excel at the rush. They also excel at the power play. Like there are 3 or 4 different styles of hockey that Nashville can adapt to and succeed in. And I think even if Arizona has an advantage with netminding, it really wears down when you just exhaust somebody because they can't ever evolve or adapt to what you're doing.
Yeah, Nashville, I mean, I think there are 2 areas where Arizona might have the edge. Maybe goaltending, and then special teams, they have the advantage. Nashville's power play was much maligned, even though they had a power play goal today, which was awesome. And their penalty kill is excellent as well for Arizona. But in your mind, how does this series go?
In my mind, Zach, the Nashville Predators will win it. I think they win it in 4.
Yep, I agree with that. If it goes longer than 4, I think it makes the Preds nervous. Yeah. So
I
Preds
would
in
agree.
4. I feel good about that. Which moves us on to our next Central division, and every matchup actually features someone from the Central. How
The
about that,
team,
huh?
yeah.
Love that. All
Good
7
job,
teams
guys.
making the playoffs. God, we're the best division. Just so good. So you got a lot to move up to, Arizona, when you join us, okay? Vancouver versus Minnesota. This series is fascinating to me.
Is it really?
It
Because,
really
okay,
is.
please just sell me on the series because it sounds like the most boring series to me.
There are two things. I think you have the inexperience of Vancouver and just
Okay.
the pure potential of the youth on that team.
Yeah.
I mean, Quinn, Hughes, Brock, Besser, all of these players who are just completely excellent. And then you have the old Minnesota Wild, which you'd think, okay, who cares? Except
No,
for
that's when it
one
starts
player.
getting interesting.
Here's the thing.
Okay,
Kevin
who's.
Fiala
Oh, jeez.
has been so good
Yeah, he's
for
been
that team.
good. Okay, cool.
And
Like,
that is
that's
a
fun.
player, he's turned into the game breaker that Nashville thought he would be when they drafted him 10th overall in his draft year. The
That is
way
true.
that he has completely revamped that Minnesota offense, he's just been
Wow.
electric.
Wow. Well, it did revamped the Minnesota offense.
Well, I mean, they have a new coach now. Dean Evison has definitely done some different things with them.
Yeah, revamped seems like strong praise though. Like,
I mean, I'm not
it,
saying they're turned into the O2 Wings. I'm
okay,
just
all right. I
saying
just
that
wanted to.
they're better than they were.
Yeah,
And
that's true. That is true. I'm also fatter than I was, but that doesn't necessarily make me a sumo wrestler. So
fair, 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 fair. Now, not only that, I think defensively, you're going to have, if you like defensive hockey, this is your series between the fact that you've got Quinn Hughes on the back end for a stout Vancouver defensive line, and then the always excellent Ryan Suter and Jonas Brodin on the back end for Minnesota. I think you're going to see some real grind it out, heavy playoff hockey between these two.
this is my favorite game to play during the Minnesota Wild playoff run.
Is it
How
the
many
Jewel?
minutes does Suter average a game?
Yeah,
And
itty.
especially in this format where it might only be 5 games or 3 games, 30,
Oh, I
32.
think he hits 30.
Yeah,
He's got to, right?
right. It's going to be insane. And I think you hit on. I think you hit on something there, Zach. If Minnesota has a chance to win this, it's going to be because of their defensive stoutness. It's going to be because they're going to rely on those big names that you've mentioned, and they're going to do just enough to get by. Um,
I do think that Minnesota was one of the teams that was most hurt by the pause because they were 12-5-1 going
yeah,
into it.
I,
But
I I would agree with that.
I don't know. We'll see. What do you think of this one, huh?
Uh,
Offensively, I think you got to go with Vancouver just
yeah, I
with the
think it's
firepower.
Vancouver.
Defensively, Minnesota.
Yeah, and goaltending wise, I think it's a wash.
Yeah. Ah,
Dubnik's
I give the edge to Vancouver. Jacob Markstrom
really
was excellent this year.
he was very
Absolutely
good.
excellent. And him
Uh,
coming back is a huge boon for the Canucks.
no, that's true. It's so hard though to talk about a lot of these Vancouver Canucks players because they have zero experience in this position.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
same with the
But
Wild.
that's true. But that's at least that's the exciting thing for me. If there's something that I look forward to in this series, I don't. Sorry, Minnesota. I don't care about you. You're here to be cannon fodder. I want to see what the Canucks can do, especially Quinn Hughes, especially Elias Pettersson.
Mhm.
Brock Besser. I want to see if Markstrom can turn into a Jordan Bennington-esque goaltender in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They have so much upside, and I'm really excited to see how well they do. I think the X factor for them is their youth.
Yep.
It's either going to go one or two ways. It's either going to be a boon or it's going to drag them down. But I think that they're going to get through this series relatively easily. I think it's going to be a 4-game series. I think they're going to have more trouble scoring than you
Mhm.
might believe because of the things that you've mentioned in terms of the Wild's defensive capabilities. That being said, though, I think Vancouver just has the talent, and these kids don't know better. They're going
All
to run
right.
against a wall. And they're just going to be like, "Cool, that was
Vancouver in
fun."
4 is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Minnesota in 5. Kevin Fiala wins the
get out of
series
here.
in overtime.
Is it possible to be a homer for somebody who doesn't play your home team anymore?
Well, I mean, I guess probably. I don't know. I mean, it's not like Fiala wasn't my favorite player when he was here.
Some
I just think that he's really evolved his
some
game. So
expatism.
I don't know. I mean, like I do like Shea Weber. Then again, all right. Well, moving on. So next up, we have our last series to cover: the Calgary Flames versus the Winnipeg Jets.
Zach, when I was thinking about these earlier today, at first I said to myself, This one's pretty open and shut. I think I know who wins this. I think I know why they win it. And the more I thought about it, the more I ruminated on the different factors that are going to come into play during this series, the less certain I got about the team that I was going to pick. For me, this series has the potential to go one of two ways. It could be a 3-game sweep. It could be a 5-game slugfest. The fun thing about it, Zach, is that both of those teams could do both of those things. It is not a one or the other. The Flames and the Jets could just roll this series, or it could be an arduous war. And I'm not sure which one we're going to see.
You look at the forwards. I think you got to go for the Jets. Just because,
offensively, it's hands down.
Wheeler,
especially with Johnny.
You
look at Johnny DeGros's struggles this year too.
He looks disinterested.
Unless he finds some magic and can get back into it and excel at a high level, the highest level that we've possibly seen him in. They're going to have real struggles offensively. Defensively, though,
Calgary all the way. You got Mark Giordano. You got Travis Hamonic. I mean, like those players, yeah. And here is why I'm picking the Jets. Goaltending.
Connor Hellebuck, my baby boy.
When you have, in my mind, the no-brainer Vezina winner, how do you pick against him?
He should have been a Hart finalist with the defense they put in front of him.
Yeah,
he should be in the
pathetic.
Hart race.
100%.
I agree with you completely, Zach. I think the X factor and the reason I picked the Winnipeg Jets is because of Connor Hellebuck. He has made the jump that we've been waiting for him to make the last couple of years of being a bona fide stud. And he's proven that he is here. The warm-up game against Vancouver, a lot of talent that we just mentioned, unable to score on him, 4-0 shutout. So I really think he is in that Corey Crawford mindset where he's ready, he's prepared. He knows what he needs to do. And I think you're going to see a lot of struggle with Calgary's offense and a lot of resilience in the lack of defense that Winnipeg has because they have the confidence knowing that Hellebuck's behind them to dig them out of holes if they create them. How many games do you think this goes, Zach? I think it goes 5. You think it goes 4?
Yeah.
I think it goes the full 5.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that happening too. I mean, that's the thing with these 5 gamers. It's so hard to predict, and there's such a thin line between all. So
the only real chance I think Calgary has in terms of stealing the series is that if they can get under the skin and play the agitator role well enough with guys like Patrick Laine and Nicholas Ehlers and those kinds of players that rely on their speed and their deftness on the ice. I think that's the one thing that could equalize it for them because you have guys like Kachuk that can just turn the tide of a game just with their presence.
Yep.
But do I see that happening? No, not over the course of the whole series.
Well, my friend, I think we just, don't even bother watching the games. We told everyone what's going to happen. So that's how it's going to go.
Get on your betting sites. Say everything we said, put $100 on it.
But put everything you own. All right.
House,
the life of
horses,
your first child.
Cars. Yes.
Everything. Take it to the bank. Well, my friend, there we go. It has always a pleasure doing this with you. What do you think after this whole play-in round? We get ready and preview the first one?
Oh, I think that sounds like a great plan, Zach.
All right, my guy. Well, hey, thank you so much for doing this with me, Mason. Always a pleasure. Anything you want to say to everybody out there taking a listen?
Thanks for sticking around, guys. It's really cool to see that a lot of you still listen, even though we take our hiatuses and, hockey in general didn't exist for 6 months. So
what the hell are we going to talk about?
Yeah. Thanks for just sticking around and being friends, everybody. We really appreciate it, both me and Zach.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. So for my friend Mason Masters, I'm Zack McCann. We'll see you next time here on Central Divided.